Good morning. Anyone online? Okay, very good. Well, we want to welcome those who are attending remotely and excuse Supervisor Smith. He is online.
He is online.
But he is out of state, visiting with some of his college friends and having a kind of a reunion of sorts. And I think he's at the airport going through security, so that's why he's not going to be participating, but he'll be listening. Maybe he has one of those little funny white things sticking out of his ear, I don't know. Anyway, I'd like to welcome the rest of you to our board meeting this morning. And we'll start by having Josh Halverson, our head of probation and court services, give the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our first item of business is approval of the minutes of our board session, regular board meeting and work sessions held on the 17th and the 31st of January.
I'll make a motion to approve.
And I'll second that, and that motion carries. Next, we have Sheriff Allred, who has three items regarding, the first is regarding employees going to a K-9 conference.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you today? So, yes, my first deal is I'd like an approval for an out-of-state travel for one employee to attend the K-9 conference. It's in Las Vegas. They shouldn't even count that with an out-of-state because everything Arizona does is in Las Vegas. I guess it's cheap in the casino, huh? I don't know. But that's where they send every training, almost. But, yeah, March 7th to the 9th, but he'll be with his K-9 there for some training. We'd like to send him to that, please.
And the question, does that, do they have to buy a separate plane seat for the dog?
Yeah, except he gets to take his truck.
Okay. Any discussion?
None.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve the out-of-state travel for employee to attend Police K-9 conference in Vegas, March 7th, 2023 through March 9th, 2023.
I'll make that unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you. Also, the next item would be an approval to purchase an unbudgeted capital item, the Sotoxa oral fluid mobile intoxilizer from Intox Meters. It's for $4,500. I believe that what happens is where the AG's office has some of those that they're sending to the counties, and our county's got two of them. And one of them is going to be housed, hopefully, we'll be able to house it at the jail. It kind of makes sense to have a machine like that at our jail versus some other place, because that's where it'll be used the majority of the time. And then we do get reimbursed for that.
Yeah, I read in the packet that it was state funding, so any discussion?
No, none at all. I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of the unbudgeted capital item, the Sotoxa oral fluid mobile analyzer from Intox Meters for $4,500.
Thank you, Supervisor and Vice Chairman. I'll go ahead and make that unanimous. That motion carries.
Thank you very much. Our next one is we're asking for the approval of unbudgeted capital for 2 detention center workstations, 1 PTC camera. Basically, the workstation, and there's folks here that know a little bit more about computer type stuff than I do, but basically, we have in our workstations, which are east and west workstations inside the jail. The time is getting really close to having to exchange out some of our equipment that we have in there that has to do with our workstations, computers, and we're finding that it's kind of difficult right now to do what we're needing to do based on maybe some of the equipment's in there isn't quite what we thought it was going to be for a while when it was first sold to us. And so we're kind of in a predicament right now where we need to make this jump and make this move on these while we can. That's kind of what's happening there. Also, our other one is our camera, our PTZ camera. That's the one's over our main parking lots and out in front. That's needs to be replaced. It's broken and not fixable.
Very good. I understand that this is basically part of the transition away from Kubel to our new security consultant
Yes.
and supplier. Any other discussion?
None here. Make a motion to approve the unbudgeted capital for 2 detention center workstations and 1 PTZ camera.
Okay, and I'll go ahead and make that unanimous, and I believe, if I recall from the agenda pack, this is under $10,000. So it's when you say workstation, you know, some people think that your furniture and everything else is basically 2 computer stations.
Yes.
So it's, sorry, Mr. Chairman, it's actually 15,500, 15,276. We're asking for approval for 15,500.
Okay, very good. Well,
It's because of the servers. There's 2 servers in there that
Okay.
are
Thank you.
costly.
Thank you for Chief Financial Officer and Dustin for that, but it's not hundreds of thousands of dollars. Okay, next, thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it, gentlemen.
Next, we have our County Attorney, Scott Bennett, regarding some out-of-state travel.
Good morning.
Morning.
Thank
Morning.
you for hearing us out. We would like to send some people to the Carpel training that's coming up in April. PBK, or Prosecutor by Carpel, is our case management system that annually they have a conference to basically help us not only troubleshoot, but show us all the bells and whistles and everything that they've upgraded and done throughout the year. It's our hope that we can send our 2 office administrators of the software, Debbie Barnes and Heather Jacobs. And this year, we'd also like to send an attorney to start learning the ins and outs of it, and we'd like to send Stephen Lindell. So it would require airfare both ways, tuition. Ms. Barnes and Ms. Jacobs have agreed to share a hotel room. Obviously, we need a separate one for Mr. Lindell. So basically, that's what we're hoping to do. I think it'd be very beneficial to the office and allow us to better use our system.
Very good. Any discussion?
None.
I just, my only comment is it would be nice if they were like Motorola. Carpel was like Motorola and paid for everything. Of course, there is no free lunch. We pay Motorola plenty, and then they dribble it back in the way of a perk or 2. I'll entertain a motion.
Need to make a motion to approve the out-of-state travel for 3 employees to attend Carpel Solutions National Use Group meetings in St. Louis, Missouri, April 4th through 6th, 23.
I'll make that unanimous, and that motion carries. Thank you very much. And
Thank you so much.
happy trails to your employees. Next, we have representing the Treasurer's Office. We have, thank you very much, we have Lori Boring.
Good morning. Yes, I'm here this morning to ask for the approval to accept the offer for purchase of 4 over-the-counter tax deed sale parcels.
Very good. Saw the packet information. It's an excellent way to recover some of our tax costs. I commend your office for your diligence in working on that. Thank you very much. Any other discussion?
No, it just helps clean up our tax rolls too. So I make a motion to approve to accept offers for purchase of the over-counter tax deed sale parcel.
Thank you very much, and I'll second that. And
All right,
and
thank
it's
you.
approved. Next, we have, on behalf of Mr. Palmer, or Judge Palmer.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I told Judge Palmer I would take this. He's busy in court this morning, and as you're aware, Mr. Chairman, I was in your office when Judge Palmer came by. We were in a bit of a pickle, and our usual pro tempore judge was not available at the time, and we needed someone to cover for the JP court, and Jeremy Waite has some good experience in that realm, and we gave him the go-ahead at the time to use Mr. Waite to fill in for the judge, and that's why we're bringing it to you as a ratification. So it has happened, but we do foresee it could be in need going forward. So we'd like to ratify this appointment of Jeremy Wade as a Justice of the Peace pro temp going forward. If there's a question about salary, that's all set by statute, and they're all virtually paid the same. So,
And thank you. I note that Judge Peterson had gone ahead and made that recommendation. The only, as we review this and for approval, it says renewal, and even though we're renewing the position, this is an appointment, and this is Jeremy's first, or Attorney Waite's first appointment to this position. So, any other discussion?
No.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve to ratify the appointment of pro temporary Judge Jeremy J. Waite to the Graham County Justice of the Peace Court.
Very good, thank you. And on behalf of Judge Peterson, for this next item, thank you. Josh.
Good morning, members of the board. Good morning, everyone. This item is to request the approval of an agreement with Dr. Nicole Cooper Lopez for restoration to competency services for the remaining of this fiscal year. The terms of it are no different terms as far as the costs and the services. We've received really great service from Dr. Cooper Lopez in keeping down kind of some of the costs and the issues that we do have when we have individuals that need restoration of competency services. As you're probably aware, we do have agreements with Yavapai County and some others for some inpatient, but this one generally keeps us from having to utilize those on most of the cases and situations. She works with our folks as they're right in our jail, or even if they're out of custody, she does outpatient service with them. And I just wanted to get that in place, and happy to answer any questions.
Any discussion?
No.
I would comment is that this can be a very costly process with an undetermined amount of time once those people are in the system and are being evaluated. Sometimes it's months and months, and so it's vital that we have someone who's aware and conservative, but competent. So I'd go ahead and I'll make a motion that we approve the agreement with Dr. Nicole Cooper Lopez for restoration to competency.
I'll second that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's approved. Thank you. Next, we have our attorney. Not our attorney. Sometimes he does a lot of legal things. Our county engineer, Michael Bryce. He has a brother who's an attorney.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dustin. The first item is City of Safford has made a request for a pavement cut on Airport Road. You may be aware that there was the pavement cut on that road. There was a moratorium for cuts on several of our county roads, and this is one of those roads. And in order for them to obtain a cut, they need to come to the Board of Supervisors for approval. The Highway Department and the county don't particularly like to have highways cut because of the repair is challenging to make it good, but we've concluded that Safford will, when they do the pavement cut, if they'll put back slurry backfill with a casing for their water line through the road, that might be acceptable. But we've got Morgan Seal here with us from City of Safford. If you'd like to hear from him some more detail on why they need the cut, well.
Yeah, any discussion?
No, I don't think so. Not on my end.
I'm not with Morgan being the ultimately responsible, I'm not concerned. I think you have a cement trowel, a finishing trowel on the back of your truck, don't you, that you make sure it's nice and smooth when you do the cuts? Put your kids' handprints in? Okay, just leave it smooth. Thank you. And your recommendation on this, Michael?
Well, that soil and the rock in the ground up there does make it very difficult to perform bores, and it would be much more expensive for Safford to, they tried to do it with their own equipment and actually damaged their own equipment trying to do it. And so relative to the expense that it would be for Safford, it would probably be beneficial for them because they're, my understanding is they're upgrading the water system on the airport.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
Yeah, we need to stay good partners with our other entities. I think I think he'll do a fine job on that and get that back right. So I'll make a motion to approve the City of Safford's request for pavement cut along Airport Road.
And I'll make that unanimous, and that's approved. Thank you very much. You're very welcome. Thank you for your work. And your next item.
Next item is a quitclaim deed from Alvin Summers, Sherry Dawn Summers, and Graham Vincent Pace and Callie Dawn Pace. What was happening here was that there was a lot split taking place on some property that contained Bryce Eden Road. We didn't have any right-of-way in that area, and we proposed to them that as part of that lot split, they provide right-of-way for the county road, and they were agreeable to that, and so they have executed a quitclaim deed to the county and need you to accept that right-of-way.
Now, anytime we can get right-of-ways and help us out, I'm all for it. Want to make that motion?
Please.
I'll make a motion to approve accept quitclaim deed from Alvin James Summers and Sherry Dawn Summers and Graham Vincent Pace and Callie Dawn Pace for a portion of parcel number 109-43-045 for the right-of-way up Bryce Eden Road.
And I'll make that unanimous. Thank you. And,
Thank you.
And please let the Summers and the Paces know that we appreciate their donation.
Okay.
Okay, we have our Health Department Director, Brian Douglas.
Good morning, everyone. It's requested the board approve an amended access IGA for our detention center inmates. And Access has increased their annual administrative cost of the administrative cost of the IGA by $989.20. Our detention center, we do currently have an IGA with Access. It's for inmate hospitalization. And if an inmate is hospitalized, this agreement limits the hospitalization cost to no more than $10,000 per inmate per hospital stay.
And is that about a 10% increase? Isn't it around $10,000?
Yes, we're for this IGA for this.
No, not the cost of hospitalization, but
on the
but
administration
the
cost.
Yeah.
Previously, the annual administrative cost was around $5,200. It's now $6,100. Okay. So it's a $989 increase.
Okay.
For the entire year.
Very good. Well, we don't have a choice.
No, we don't.
They're dictating to us, so.
Everything's going up, that's for sure. I make a motion to approve the amended access IGA for inmate hospitalization services.
I'll second that. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's approved. Okay, now we have Josh back up again. There's a position, drug court coordinator position that we've received funding for.
Yes, so in the fall, we were able to participate in a work session about this position and some other things. We did receive funding from the Administrative Office of the Courts for this position of the Adult Drug Court Coordinator position. We had actually received the funding prior to the work session, but we had the work session to discuss it and work through some of those details. The funding is secure from them. It took me a little bit of time to get some of the other details with the job description and some of that worked out. That is completed. Worked out with Ms. Norris Blake to make sure that that conforms with the way that the format and such for that, and have that finished. And we just wanted to now request, please, formal approval of the position so that we can go ahead and fill that position and start working with that. And happy to answer any questions.
I just think that it's, I've been following this drug court and it's been such a success. Appreciate your guys' work over there and all that you're doing for the community. So with that, I'd make a motion to approve the drug court coordinator position.
And I'll second that, but I did have a follow-up question, and that is, is there a mental health component?
Correct.
For this position also?
Yes, because we, that's a good question, Supervisor, and as you know, with we do have the wellness program that is kind of our mental health court program. Being that we have both of those, we thought that this would be good to have this coordinator be able to help facilitate any of the administrative type work for both of those programs. So yes, that's all written into
okay, even better. So I've approved that, and thank you very much. That motion carries.
Thank you.
Well, we've approved it.
Yes.
Thank you. Next, we have our Human Resources Director, Cindy Norris.
Oh, I forgot Steve.
Steve, wow.
Am I in the wrong place?
No. Steve McGoy from our Planning and Zoning Director has a special event liquor license request.
Good morning, gentlemen. This morning I bring a request from the Gila Valley Sportsman Association. They ask that you send a favorable recommendation to the State Liquor Board for their much anticipated annual Big Buck contest so that they can serve liquor out there. And if you have questions about that, it appears to me in reviewing the application, they have their ducks in a row, their security is all figured out, and they've been doing this a while, and I guess I couldn't even find how long this goes back, sometime mid-70s, I think. It has missed a few years and it has changed hands on who runs it a couple of times, but I think they know what they're doing, and like I said, it's much anticipated in our community.
Very good. Hate to disappoint that contingency.
Yeah, I think that started back in '76 was when the first time that was, but we definitely have to, won't want to disappoint all them folks that go out there. So I make a motion to approve the special event liquor for the Southeastern Arizona Sportsman Club at the fairgrounds on February 25th, 23.
And I will approve Vice Chairman Howard's motion, and would note that this is, I'm not aware of ever having a problem with their special event liquor license. Very, very well done. So approved.
Thank you.
Next, we have Cindy Norris Blake. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
I come before the board today for the approval of resolution number 2023-01, resolution of the Graham County, Arizona Board of Supervisors, amending resolution 1977-22, which relates to non-discrimination in employment. There had been, several years and several new laws that have come about, and so we updated the language to reflect that in the resolution, which mirrors what's in the Merit System Manual for the county too.
Any discussion?
None here. I'll make a motion to approve the resolution number 2023-01, resolution of Graham County, Arizona Board of Supervisors, amending resolution 1977-22, which relates to non-discrimination in employment.
And I'm pleased to second that motion and for approval, and would note that I believe that our Human Resources Office does a really good job of being fair and administering, and not only the letter of the law, the spirit of the law. We have a diverse and really excellent workforce, and appreciate your vigilance and your competency in making sure that that every person has a fair opportunity to be employed.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
Okay. Next, thank you. Next, our next items of business are from our county manager, Dustin Welker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This first project is exciting for us, and the first step of hopefully many. We are asking for approval to apply for a Department of Fire and Forestry Management post-fire flood mitigation grant. This is due to the Pinnacle fire that happened now a year and a half ago. And we were notified by the Department of Fire and Forestry that they still had grants available. This is the same grant fund that we were able to improve the Buford Wash on about a year ago. We found out there was more funds, and on Klondike Road at the Cottonwood Wash crossing, each time we have a large rain event, it significantly washes out that portion of the road where that flows through. Our highway department does a very good job of getting out there and getting it passable as soon as we can, but regardless, every time it rains hard, it's just going to wash that out. So when we talked to DFFM about different options, they basically told us, give us a plan that would be a long-term solution. And so I guess we kind of went with the Cadillac plan because that was their recommendation. So what we are proposing, our engineering department has done an excellent job of designing this in-house. The in-house design has two large 8-foot culverts that would run under a low water crossing. That would be a complete concrete low water crossing with sidewalls on each side, and reinforced on the downhill side with large boulders and other things. So we're very happy with the design, and we're very hopeful that this grant will be accepted in a positive manner and we can move forward with this project. It'd be a great improvement to Klondike Road for emergency services and for all the people that live out there to be able to get in and out on that major corridor to Klondike.
Discussion?
Yeah, I just, matter of fact, I just got a call this weekend from Klondike and thanking us for our work we did at Buford over this last year, that it's helped improve that condition out there. Also, I get calls constantly on this particular problem, so I'm very excited that we can do something for these folks out there to get this done. So that I'll make a motion to approve to apply for the Department of Fire and Forestry Management post-fire flood mitigation grant to construct a low water crossing Klondike Road at the Cottonwood Wash crossing.
I'll make that unanimous. Thank you very much for our engineering department and for Dustin in pursuing this, and we hope to land it. Our next is a franchise a resolution for telecommunication franchises.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me just say real quick on that previous one too. I see Brian here, and I feel remiss that Brian and Colin have put a great deal amount of work on this too.
Management services, thank you.
They're the ones that have actually been writing the grant. So anyway, just didn't want to leave Brian out.
Okay.
He wanted to talk to me for 2 weeks if I didn't mention it. So just kidding. But him and Colin have kept an eye on this grant and have kept us in the loop. Thank you. This next one is a renewal of a resolution granting telecommunication services franchise to Valley Telephone Cooperative. I think we know them better as Valley Telecom. This was originally granted in 2012. It's required to be renewed every 5 years, and so we're in 2023, maybe a little behind, but We're asking you to renew this resolution for the second time, basically allowing them to be in our right-of-ways.
Any discussion?
None.
I note that it's non-exclusive, so a competitor could come in, but but I see the wisdom in allowing them to come in, and they have certain rights and privileges as a franchisee. So I'll make that. I'll second the motion, make it unanimous.
I haven't made it yet.
Oh, sorry.
Let me make a
I'll make the motion.
Okay, go
How's
ahead.
that? I'll make a motion that we approve the resolution 2022-14, renewing the telecommunication services franchise to Valley Telecom.
And I will second it.
Next to last, we have a opportunity for a brief summary of events. I'll go ahead and go first. Most of my activity a week ago Monday, Rural Transportation Advocacy Council met and had a legislative luncheon, and prior to that the governor addressed us. This is contiguous in the same parking lot that the governor's executive tower is, but it's the first time in 16 years that we've had a governor come to our offices for Rural Transportation Advocacy Council, and that's a subset of SEGO and the different community metropolitan planning organizations and also the different COGs. 15 minutes question and answer, but it was great dialogue, trying to support rural Arizona's transportation plan that is not included in our with the highway user revenue funding. So that was excellent. Next day came back and we had some productive work sessions. The board of supervisors, both on the marijuana planning and zoning regulations, and then we talked about the Fort Thomas Bridge, and then later that morning I had an annual meeting for the Friends of the Library, and Thursday board meeting for Department of Liquor License and as a hearing and control, and then being led by Danny Smith, who is our representative. The three of us were online for the County Supervisors Association Legislative Policy Committee meeting in Phoenix, and we discussed the proposed legislation and try to promote good legislation and try to put a break on the legislation which will be harmful to counties and our finances. And finally, I also attended the week before. There actually was a Monday night. There was a City of Safford City Council meeting, and other than that, lots of different Zoom conferences for different items. But that's my report. Supervisor Vice Chairman Howard, you're up.
Yeah, I'll be brief. I won't echo. I was a lot of that you were. I won't echo that, but I do want to give a special shout out for the Law Enforcement Appreciation Luncheon by the County Attorney's Office. That was very, very well attended and very good food and very well done. So thank you guys very much on that. I had a United Way Committee meeting on Friday, kicking off the annual grants this year. Need to get the word out. A lot of money out there for people to go after. And then I also attended the Thatcher Council meeting. I try to attend all of them to keep abreast of what's going on with our local towns. And that being it, there's other things, but that's all I'd like to report on. Thank you.
And we'll go ahead and wrap up with our county manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the time of year it feels like we're sprinting a marathon between starting budget talks, the legislature being in session, and trying to finish all these projects we committed to. But just a little update on the projects. The shade structure and playground equipment are complete. We're in the midst of a bidding out the rubber floor tiles. Tomorrow we have a pre-bid meeting for all the interested parties out at the fairgrounds, so we'll hold that pre-bid meeting. As far as plans go on the remodel, Bob Kempton continues to work hard. He completed 4 more areas on the landscape design, which we've hung up in the halls near your offices to look at. Hydro Pest Control has been doing work on our 10 fire breaks down in the river. They're finally able to get in there and get some work done. We are working with Mr. Cramey to start establishing those extra fire breaks. Bill Brandow calls me about every day to give me a status of how muddy the river is. And he's with Mr. Cramey every day too, trying to decide if they can get in there and get a few done before the nesting season begins April 15th. So we're hoping to try to get some of those done. We're constantly working with the Department of Forestry to make sure our grant can be extended because of the water flows in the river. So it's disrupted the project, but it's hard to complain about too much rain around here too. I'm working with Judge Palmer in finalizing the request for proposals on the Justice of the Peace Court remodel and hope to get that bid out this week. We had a very good work session discussing the Second Amendment to the marijuana zoning ordinance, and I've had an opportunity to meet with the county attorney's office and briefly go over those. We definitely have some work to continue working on that, but we've at least started the legal review on that. On our next board meeting, we will be opening request for proposals for ball field concessions, and that is for a nonprofit to place a bid on using the concessions down by the ball fields. We'll have starting in March, Little League, then girls softball, then adult softball, and that runs, and of course AYSO, all in that mix too, and that runs from March to October, and we hope that we'll have someone bid on those, which I believe we will, and that's a great service to have food throughout those months for all our park goers, which is hundreds and thousands of people. It's a great thing. We're also working with Trey and Jimmy on developing our RFP for the fairgrounds painting project, which was budgeted. We met with some Dunn Edwards reps last week and walked the park. We have a very extensive list of everything that we want to paint out there, and we want to make sure we do it right as far as prepping and painting everything. So hopefully it'll last a very long time. An update on the respite center with the Good Samaritan home, Richens Construction. We've given them the green light. They are contracted through the Good Samaritan home, so we'll be cutting some checks to the Good Samaritan home so they can start paying Mr. Richens, and he was going to start the demolition this week. And just a couple more department heads and elected officials. We sent out a policy survey about a week and a half ago that is due at the end of this week. We are evaluating, looking at a few different merit policy changes, and also some of our policies concerning the ability for employees to apply for different positions internally. So everyone has those surveys. They're actually doing 2 days on February 8th. So if you haven't completed those already, please do those and get them into HR. We really want your feedback on those. Lastly, Hannah and I, mainly Hannah, are tackling a big project that we've talked about for a long time, and that's record retention. Record retention is part of our daily duties that we do in every department, but it's something that we want to get the state records department down here to help us make sure what we're doing is correct. We are topped out in some of our areas where we're storing our retention over at the courthouse as well as in our basement. So we feel like there is some room for improvement in properly destroying records or sending them over to the state as necessary, and we're looking for some extra help. So we've been waiting to do that when there's not an election, right, Hannah? So 2023 seems like the proper time to do that. So we'll be working diligently on that for the next few months with all the departments. And that's my report, Mr. Chairman, for now.
Thank you very much. Well done. Appreciate your work and leadership. Next, we have the approval of demands and handwritten warrants so we can pay our bills. I'll accept, or I'll entertain a motion,
So moved.
and I'll second that. And we'll go into a public hearing during our Board of Supervisors meeting for a conditional use permit. And this is going to be for Miss Norton, and she and her husband, is that correct?
That's under business.
Okay, it's a business, but they're proposing, we'll hear about their proposal.
Good morning again. We are here to have a public hearing for a conditional use permit applied for by Mrs. Norton. I won't pretend to explain to you what she's going to do there because it's way over my head, but this went to the commission last month and they sent a favorable recommendation unanimously to you for what Mrs. Norton wants to do. Conditionally, they put no conditions on it, but they did get some clarification. Mrs. Norton said she's attempting to get some real estate in town to do this rather than there in their neighborhood. And they wanted to know that if she did that, if she left this, would her conditional permit stay valid? And I told them, according to our ordinance, that she would have to reapply if she went to town and then decided to come back, and I think she understood that. I'll let you hear from her, and then if you have questions for either of us, we'll go from there.
Very good. You're welcome to come and address the board and people here.
Well, thank you to the board and Mr. Chairman and Mr. Welker. If you have any questions for me, I'm glad to field those. As an introduction, my business is named Live Well O2, O2 being based off the oxygen component. I've spent 10 months in the creation of building this business and bringing it here to Graham County. We provide hyperbaric oxygen therapy, mild hyperbaric, so it's not medical. We'll be providing red light therapy as well as infrared sauna and health and wellness coaching services. I spent at least a couple of months looking all over Safford and Thatcher for a commercial location that would be suitable for the business and had a difficult time finding either the right space, the right cost, those kinds of things. Through the death of a family member, this home on our property became available. So I began exploring whether we could do that. With your approval, it's actually set up commercially. It looks, if you walk in, it looks like a health and wellness practice instead of a home. And we have actually, since that happened, since we started rolling that forward, we have actually identified a commercial property here in Safford for future use. We expect it'll take around 6 months for that property to be ready because the property owner needs to build it out for our specific needs. So that is the kind of the background information for it.
Very good.
I don't want to be dumb here, but what is hyperbaric oxygen red light therapy?
Well, it's two things. There should have been a comma there, but hyperbaric oxygen therapy is the use of oxygen or air under pressure to promote healing in the body. We don't claim to cure or treat anything because we are not medical professionals. I'm a national board certified health and wellness coach. That's what I do. But it's identified as mild hyperbaric. So a medical chamber, they take pure oxygen and put it under pressure, and it's quite dangerous. It needs to be done in protected safety settings. This is mild, so it's a long chamber, about 80 inches long, and it's just air compressors. It fills it up with air, kind of like a pressure cooker, but without heat. And then the the client can use an oxygen mask, that's just some additional oxygen. When that pressure pushes the oxygen down into the body, it promotes healing. So if you have an injury of some kind, it might help that injury heal a little bit faster. It just helps the body's healing processes to do a little bit more.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll go ahead and we'll bring the P&Z director back up, and if there are any more questions, we'll direct them to you. As far as the neighbors, any letters of support or letters of opposition?
They are their own neighbors, but we did send this out to everybody within 300 feet, and we received absolutely nothing from any of them.
Okay.
There were no replies at all from, I think there were 16 letters sent out. They are their closest neighbor in 3 positions, but then beyond that, it went into Alder Heights, and we heard nothing from any of those or the 2 farmers to the north.
My next door neighbor's my son, he threatened to
Okay. And then, do we have any other commercial? So this is going to be conditional use permit, and are we actually rezoning this for commercial, or what's the ask again?
It's a conditional use permit to use it as commercial property until the use goes away, but it's remaining A zone.
Okay,
as
so
far as
that's the only
zoning.
condition, though. That's the sole condition for the conditional use permit?
Yes, it makes it easier if we were to start getting complaints from the neighbors, we could deal with it, and she'd be easier to shut down, I guess, if we needed to, under a conditional use permit rather than a zone. But there's no, like I say, the commission just asked for some clarification, but they put no conditions on it, although you are welcome to put conditions on it from here if you saw the need for something specific.
Thank you.
No more questions.
Okay.
I'll make a motion.
Well, we've got to ask if there's anyone in opposition, and we've heard the proponent of this rezone or the conditional use permit. Is anyone opposed in the audience? Okay.
Now make a motion to approve this conditional use permits CUP 22-06 request for temporary business usage for hyperbaric oxygen red light therapy. Site address is 3330 North Duncan Way, Central Arizona, for Don Norton.
Okay, and I would, I'm pleased to second that motion for the conditional use permit being granted. Note that it was unanimously approved by the P&Z Commission, and I just wish you well. You know, there's great opportunities, and especially if you get to the medical, if you transition to the medical because of the uses. So you're approved. Thank you. And so we have 2 other items with our P&Z director.
Right. Our next
And
2
so
are.
we're out of the hearing, so we'll exit the hearing and go back into our regular session, and we've got a couple road name requests.
I believe this is also a hearing if,
is it? Okay.
if someone were to be opposed, but
I'll backstroke and
that's okay.
I'm new and we'll have a new chairman in about 4 months, and so he's learning at my expense. So thank you, Steve, for the correction.
We are the applicant on this road name because our ordinance requires that only a driveway can only have 2 addresses on it prior to requiring naming. As soon as somebody wants to put a 3rd home on a driveway, we have to name it for 911 purposes. This front property that you probably remember you zoned for Nancy Clark, so that she could split it, and she's going to put 2 homes, and so that coupled with the Marinos living to the west and using the same driveway requires a road name. The neighbors were not in agreement on what that road name would be, but we're in agreement with us putting a number to it rather than a name. So it didn't exactly fit 43rd Street. 43rd Street would have run on the north edge of the property. This is on the south edge of the property. So because it doesn't fit the correct dimensions for a street, we're proposing 43rd Place, and ask that you go along with us on it.
I'm assuming the occupants are okay for that 43rd Place. You
Yes.
haven't heard anything bad
Yes.
about that? Okay.
Very good.
I will go ahead and make a motion to, for a road name request, to name the private easement. Proposed road name is 43rd Place. Site address is along 4326 South US Highway 191.
And I'll make that unanimous. Thank you, Vice Chairman.
And the third one is Elements Road, which you'll also remember just rezoning for the purpose of a land split just west of the Stadium Club. Elements Road is, Elements Construction is the name of the business that's gonna go at the corner of 8th Street and Elements Road. And there will be 2 houses back beside and beyond. And rather than give one builder a 8th Street address and then require the name change after he's using that address, we proposed that they go ahead and get a road name together prior to issuance of the first address, because it was going to be required relatively soon. Everyone that's going to live there is in agreement with this, and so this is, it's actually Travis Palmer's application, but, and his idea, but the other person who he sold a lot to is in agreement with it, and that's all that it will affect is those 2 homes and the business.
Very good. Any questions?
So there will be two owners in there, Travis and whoever else it might be, and there'll be business and homes.
Correct. There'll be a business at the front. The owner will build behind it, and then on the other side of the street will be, he sold this to another individual that's already started a house in there.
Okay. Any other questions? I will make a motion for a road name request for Travis Palmer, a private easement. Proposed road name is Elements Road, site address 931 North 1st Avenue, Thatcher, Arizona.
Thank you.
Can I?
Please, go ahead, Steve.
That's his residence that you read. I think we may have put that in wrong, but that's a mailing address.
The 931 North 1st Avenue?
Yeah, the situs address is West 8th Street.
Okay.
If that needs to be read in differently, I don't know.
Yeah, read in what would be appropriate, Steve.
So I'll make an amendment, but that site address to be West 8th Street in Thatcher, Arizona. Thank you.
Well, and I'll second that motion, and that carries. Last item of business, I would note that we have visiting with us today, we have Nancy Jean Welker from Bowie area, and also we have Mr. Matthews who's brought up some information regarding he continues to propose and organize a horse show for Graham County. And so I don't have anyone signed in for call to the public. Is there anyone wish to speak at this time? Very good. Well, then we'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting and enter into a work session. Thank you very much. Have a good week. And Danny, happy trails if you're not already on your plane and headed home.